Hey, Ice Juice, how you doing today? Just getting stuff set up right now, getting everything already layered. Tell me if my fan in the background is too loud. I'm hoping my fan's not really an issue because it's just a little spicy out here until around like decent evening. So I know it's gonna be hotter in here if I don't leave the fan. If I don't have like a decent fan, this room becomes a small oven. So I'm not a huge fan on it. I'm not looking for this to be a sauna setup while I do my stream. Not today, at least. Like that's not part of the plan. But as of right now, I mean, we've got a lot of just general stuff coming up. We've got content obviously on the way tomorrow with Shonen Jump. Personally, I feel like it's kind of hard with Shonen Jump right now. Just because Shonen Jump just doesn't feel like it's got a lot of meat. There's not a lot to it, and people are like, "Oh, what's got One Piece?" But I mean, One Piece can only do so much as a big series. Like you, as long as you maintain obviously a very large, consistent set of readers, big W there. But the thing is, what happens when those guys eventually go away? Or like on times where if the manga is on break, so you have stuff where all these newer series, I just don't see them giving enough time to sell like the readers in order like to get a good point to where they axe them. I still wish that they would do what I believe that they should do is have essentially all of the not like more popular series on a more digital release only, but just have the biggest winners be in the main magazine. Just because I feel like if you did that, you would give more incentive for people to compete against each other for the bigger series, as well as just an idea of what to construct of digital versus physical release and what they could do to preserve, pretty much putting out content and determining what gets in the main magazine. Because then you could have stuff that maybe something at like level 15 it wouldn't be as popular, but once it gets to level or chapter 35, it's able to do more. And then you would be able to have more authors like able to produce content without having to worry as much about that dreaded axe. And obviously, you want them to not just be in a carefree environment because they need to be doing their job, but there should be a way to balance that to where it's not making them put out as an unsatisfactory product. Oh shit! I was like, I was trying to have some ads so I can get some free points on the app for before the next chapter comes out. Because I have like 50, and if I earn whatever 15 a day, I won't have to actually drop whatever the dollar for the chapter. Earn off the free points instead, make it a little easier. I wish they had more of a like an easier system because there's some of the other series I do want to read, but I mean it's like $1 per chapter where it's like Shonen Jump, you have $2 for all these other series, but I mean at that point if you only want to read one series, why should you have to pay for other series? Where it's like I like the switch between, but at the same time I wish that there was a middle ground for both of them, or if you wanted to buy each chapter individually or if you want a subscription service. But like $1 a chapter is kind of crazy. Show nowadays feel different. It's not bad at all. It's just different vibe. Well, it's more of the newer series have a lot more rushed tone to them, and they end up having a lot more going on, fast pace until they get to a not on an axe point, and they're able to survive. But what was I saying? Well, it's just like you lose people like faster in one of these like breakneck speed pacings because people aren't able to put out as much as they want to at certain extents, and because of that, they have series that feel really crammed up at the beginning, but also series that they just feel like they're dragging on because they might not be able to meet that newer gen. I know, unfortunately, as the one that I've brought up many times on the channel for Build King, it had that older pacing, and because of that, the newer gen people I just think were not into the style. Because I mean, like the weirdness of it, like the whole building and architectural aspects. I know that was something that people would have to look past, but it's like once you actually got into like what he was doing, it was had a pretty unique and interesting tone to it. But a lot of people aren't willing to generally put, whatever 15, 20 chapters into a series just to see whether or not they like it. A lot of people like are going to cut it off within the first volume or so. I just don't expect a lot of people to survive the whole gauntlet of going. In my opinion, I feel like you should get through the first real story arc. Whatever like the first story arc is, I think that is what you should go off of, like actual story arc, not just like something in it. Like I would say like for something like for instance, right, so like going through like I want to say Phantom Lord, but I'd say at least Galuna Island. Like the whole thing with Aragorn and like Eisenwald, that's like a mini arc. Whereas it's more like setting up the team. There's more so with it with Galuna Island because you have obviously Gray's backstory and you get stuff that lasts a length of the story and not just introductions. So obviously like you get more when you're actually going through. Okay, well, what does this guy do for his writing style? What is his like style of telling a story, and like what tones are they going to do, what exactly are they going to do with their conclusions, versus like I just got through the first 3 chapters where it just does like here's the powers, here's the main character, you get a grasp of the world, because really those are generally the first couple chapters that you're going to be seeing. You're not going to be getting really anything to do with the overarching idea of like how the author's style is. You're just going to be getting the introductory bits. You're going to be getting the main character's powers. You're beginning like the bits of the core aspects of the story, but really you're just getting that opening. You're not getting the same thing, because really a lot of the times too, like the chapters 2 and 3 are just follow-ups to chapter 1 and don't lead as much into major events of the story as I feel like a lot of people would really think. Because when you think about it, too, is like chapter 2 and 3 tend to essentially be episode 2 of a show. And episode 2 really is just like, for the most part, a lot of the time, hey, here's some more exposition. Like the first one had a little bit more exciting stuff. Here's a little bit more of the dialogue aspects, and we're going to find out more character names and who's important and whatnot. And there's usually after that where you start to roll into actual bits of the story, where I would say like the more content of what you should be going off of is. What will Void do that Helix Joker betrayed him and got turned into a friend of Rebecca? We don't really have any idea of anything about Void and what he's like, so I would love just to get a general reaction from him. As a physical manga buyer, says 6 as a digital consult. Oh, hang on, you're not gonna get me in trouble on YouTube. Zatch Bells, you hating on Build King? I think Build King could have really been special if they just let it survive. I really loved the concept of the Build Kings and how like you can have these super rare powers from like visiting and being inside Build Kings. I thought that was really cool. But what do you mean I'm talking to myself? I'm talking about content of the stream and stuff that had to do with the conversation. What's up, Easy Trash? You know what? I really didn't like the toga bits still. It really depends on what it is, though, that we're talking about. Because some things, obviously, I want us to talk about in more length than others. The idea of Transformers as a franchise cinematic universe compared to how the outdone superhero cinematic universes. Well, the thing about the Transformers movies, that the Marvel movies, because, like, really the DC movies don't suffer from this nearly as much. It's the same problem that comic book movies or comic book events have. You have to follow too many things in order to really get the whole idea of what's going on. And then once numbers and stuff start to go down, they force crossover, so you have to know certain things. And then on top of that, because they've done this method in a television and movie format and not a comic book format, which is way easier to plan stuff out, they just have all this different tones and different things all conflicting. Like, really, when you think about it, how does the She-Hulk shit where they, like, break the fourth wall and she goes and talks about, like, the editors and stuff, how does that fit into the style of, like, Infinity War Endgame? Like, because you have to keep in mind these are all one thing. It's like Transformers has issues, obviously, in its movie continuity, but they're all one set line. Like, you're essentially watching parts of different stories that are trying to connect, instead of like 10 different parts they're trying to connect you at once, while you're also got another movie or two getting prepared up and different shows that keep getting moved. Because what is that one Agatha show that like keeps getting moved? So it's like it was supposed to come out like a year or so ago or something, or maybe like this year. So like anything that's in there that's important that you have to know, you're gonna have to wait even further on. So it's just kind of weird how they do all their lore, and I feel like if you're somebody that wants to care about the story, like the Marvel movies make it way too difficult. I'm talking about All Might. Well, I mean that's from a mech suit that's like made to replicate all their powers versus uh, Endeavor was trying to make a person that like was able to take his power to another level. Two different things. Plus, on top of that, it like inventions and tech, like it's gonna vary. Like they could probably, well, I imagine they couldn't do it with Stars and Stripes Quirk. I'm actually really curious as to once we get to Stars and Stripes in the anime, what the anime originals, like anime only viewers and their responses are gonna be towards it. Just because like she's such a weird character. She feels that like a reverse role of what Gremmy was to Kenpachi. Like she just existed for the sake of giving Shigaraki a fight that had nothing, like zero connections to the like main cast members. She didn't like they didn't have to spawn another character. She just kind of existed. I thought it would have been cooler if like this is in my mind what was going to happen. Shigaraki was going to go gather his bad guy group from just various criminal organizations from around the world. So he runs into all these different bad guy groups and you know they're good guy opposing folk. So you essentially have Shigaraki running into the big heroes from around the world, and that was how he was gonna kind of connect stuff. And then you would have more time of like him being overseas. It would be like something that the main cast is able to really kind of deal with more. You would have like more of a time to like let stuff get set up, and maybe you could even have enough for a meeting between Stars and Stripes and Deku. But you know, a lot of that just got skipped over. She just kind of showed up and got dusted. What's up, Crystal Sanders? How's you doing? Well, you got a name edition now. Fenrir, how are you doing today? Stars, Stripes, same one, wasted character. Also, no, the Yuki had more stuff for her character. She had direct ties to members of the main story and to characters you care about. Stars and Stripes never even met any of the main cast. She never even met Deku. So it's like, well, where's the value in like in the weight of her loss? Like, what exactly are you supposed to be bummed out about? Because her character never reaches a point where you should care about her death unless you just instantly liked her as a character. But her character never really got in a spot to where the reader should care. Like, she was always just this spawned up essentially for combat. And I just think that's just unfortunate. Because characters should be able to fight, but I mean, like, if their role is only fighting, that's just a shallow reason for the character to exist, you know? Who are your top 3 Autobots and Decepticons? See, I don't know a ton about Transformers. I like Rodimus Prime, though. Ooh, Grimlock, actually. Grimlock's my favorite in both categories. Yeah, she did that. So the thing, though, about that is I don't put down Yuki as a character for losing and not achieving what she was hoping to do. The thing is, she had a better build-up, and her character actually put in more than just existing for the sake of losing. Because the thing about Shigaraki is he was already on some like artificial time limit of like how long it was going to take, and that time limit just got extended out by a character just existing to be sacrificed, and I think that was just kind of meh. That was to me more of the issue that I thought made it really lame. Because like, why not just have the time limit be the longer time in the first place, and then have these characters meet? There's really no point in her character other than just being a power level flex. Like, there's nothing else going on for the role of Stars and Stripes. Because it's like what was weirdest too is her quirk was like this crazy, absurd version. I mean, like, I get too that it would make sense for Shigaraki and All for One to go for her. But at the same time, it set up a way to kind of like take abilities away from him and nerf him. So it was almost like a pre-planned plot device just to say like, okay, he doesn't get this going into the final fight. I've got a different plan. I don't know. Like, she feels so weird as a character. Like, she just feels like she just existed because Horikoshi was like, all right, I need to readjust some things. let me just introduce this character. She'll be dead in like 4 chapters, but I mean, I hope people like her in the anime when they make it into like a movie quality fight, because that's the only thing I can think of really that was going on behind the scenes to really explain this whole scenario, you know. But as it were, Stars and Stripes I think will be fine, and like once they get to her anime bit, I'm hoping that they give her some content before her fight. Like there is some form of special where her and Deku meet. I don't know. I'm not reading all of it. You're just hating on Gojo now. I don't know why you have so. I don't know why if it's you change your name so much, or you have so many accounts where you just call characters frauds. The thing though is he's getting cheated. He's getting cheated, man. Because it's his power is not. His power is not like primarily in being a summoner. He hijacked a summoner's body and is using his powers. These aren't his initial powers. These are just bonuses that he's now getting added on to his own style. See, I don't know a ton about RC. I just know RC exists. I'm not a, like I said, I have a, like, you can name some Transformers. There are some that I would get the name just off of memory, but I don't, like, I would never be able to name them off the top of my head. Like, I would see names like, oh, yeah, like RC, like, oh, yeah, I recognize that name. I know a decent amount of Transformers, but, like, decent is just pretty much, I know a bit more than the movies. That's about it. Is there any part of Fairy Tail World Map you wish Machine would explore more? I just would love to see like a general idea of like the world scale map, like if he just did a full world map. But also, I want to know, like, essentially, like, I want to know where any characters not from from Ishgal, like, where are they from? What about the other kingdoms in Ishgal? Like, the Penguard Kingdom, we know nothing about, and they're by far the largest kingdom on the entire continent. But they've never been brought up. So I wonder if Mishima's ever going to do that for, like, a movie or maybe something in the future. The thing about with Alchemist is he said alchemy opened up his worldview idea of the verse, so I'm wondering what that really means. Like if he's going to introduce like if he brings up any other power systems, if he interlocks them, or he starts to show like different ways that they've affected society or like different environments. I don't know, man. What's with this demanding comment? I mean, they're waiting to a point where all of them can jump Sukuna all at once, but at the same time, like he's gaining other stuff. He's just kind of getting adapted. I wonder what his plan would be. Like, his plan's gonna be post, whatever hollow. What is this technique he's gonna use? Infinite hollow. My hopes is it's kind of like Yamcha with the spirit ball, but he makes hollow purple and he's able just to kind of freely control it. He has this big void ball, kind of like the ones Wasp chick had, her density ball, but just something to like a higher extent. Igno is technically a king, or is it just something he's called? I mean, Atlas Flame said he was a king, so I mean, like Atlas Flame acknowledging it, I would assume that he is in fact a king. I don't still imagine that their kings are like king for them. Pretty much would probably mean the apex and just the boss. It's more something probably like an alpha and like an animal pack, obviously to like a higher degree. I mean, he still has his whole freaking super move. Like, he has an ace trump card that we've never seen before. The Sukuna just has that, like, little fire arrow left. I doubt that fire arrow is going to be anything to really be scary when it comes to the infinite hollow technique. Hollow purple, near announced in 41 seconds. Goes to the Scar and Shibuya. Well, it's his hollow purple is like the entry of it. I assume that it's going to be 2 sets. Like it's going to be hollow purple, and then he's gonna morph the technique into a higher end version. Like I said, I imagine that him just being able to, instead of shooting it in one direction, he'll have complete control over it. How many countries are in Fairy Tail? There has to be at least, I want to say, like 30 to 40. because like Ichigo alone has what, like somewhere between like 10 to 12, 13 or something like that. And the size gap isn't much, but it's clear, at least comparing, Lackatasia is a bit bigger than Ishgal, and then Giltina is much bigger than both of them. Or we get to see Igneal's human form. Well, that would be something that he would choose, but I don't think he would ever have needed it, is the thing. Like, Igneal, I don't think Igneal would have ever really had the intention to observe as being a human. Because the only thing I can think of is at a point if he just decided to turn into a human and then just go explore what humans were like. But that, like, there's just different windows of time where that would have to happen. Like, maybe it would be what led him to kind of being appreciative to humans, and it would be, like, well before he met Natsu and Zareth. Trying to find a planetary scale, so it'd be bigger than Earth, because Fiora would be scaled. Yeah, I mean, the planet is much bigger. It would have to be just based off of the size masses. They're exponentially powerful compared to the surroundings dragons, hence their title. I mean, but the thing is, I would assume that if you were king of fire dragons, then that would mean all fire dragons. So unless the presence of, say, like somebody like Igneal, who has a higher position than king, then you would in fact be that, you'd be the ruler, but it's something based off strength. It's not nearly as like a democracy set, I imagine, as like a human king. RGM port durability. I mean, the port durability, it's got like starter town power levels, so it's gonna be invincible. It's like Traverse Town. What's going on, Happy the Assassin? How are you doing today? Intense Shadow Warn Tiger obliterated as soon as the heal combination. I mean, it's what it is. Also, just real quick, really appreciate anybody who's here. They can thumbs up the stream, like the stream. There's the membership if you guys are interested. So this is an idea that I had. I'm going to host this next week. So this is going to be something as of right now. So I'm going to have to tweak a little bit of the scheduling for the stream, because I should be potentially starting a new job this week. And it has... it's like a hectic but also set schedule, so unless I have additional stuff going on, I'm not going to work weekends. So I'm planning extra stuff for the weekend. So next Saturday, for anybody who is a member, so this is going to be anybody who just joined, isn't got the membership set up. There's going to be varying amounts, but anybody who's got the $2 and above will be invited for a Terraria session. So I'm going to host the server. I'm going to invite some people. We're going to play for at least a couple hours. I think it'll be really fun, because I was thinking Minecraft, but I think Terraria would be more fun for more something compact. And then maybe if that ends up being as fun as I think it will be, then we'll move to Minecraft. Because I think Terraria is a better place to start, just because it's easier to set up. But on top of that, it's something that requires less for people to really kind of get into. But it has a more direct kind of way that you play the game. Hawk and Diablo's gang come back. I'm pretty sure they will. I mean, they've got their own mission. As long as their mission is complete, they're going to eventually be rounded back up to where the main cast is. So yeah, so they'll be in there. If you want to, it's the membership. There's anything from, the $1 one is pretty much just any type of supporting the channel. $2, like I said, will be to where you start getting more like emojis, and then your special ties in, and we're going to kind of branch into additional content. But we're going to be hosting a Terraria one next week. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. If not, there's still obviously any option where you feel like that I've done enough entertainment for you. And like I said, I'm doing these streams multiple times a week. Until I have the full set schedule, just expect at least between usually like 2 to 3 for sure. Tuesday, we're probably going to do an evening stream for the chapter. So instead of it being a live chapter reaction, it's going to be like a post-chapter stream. So we'll have more just to kind of... We'll talk more after everyone's digested the chapter instead of reading it, just right after it comes out. Speaking of multiplayer, since we're talking about Pokemon in the last stream, could Pokemon MMO be set up for consideration in the future? I mean, Pokemon Go is already close enough to a Pokemon MMO. It's just like you would have to think of what differences you could really do with a Pokemon MMO versus where it's at already, and how you can capitalize on the best way for the fandom and for them to kind of like intake how the game is going to work. Because I like a Pokemon. It's like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh are just difficult MMOs to really execute. Like their ideas are there, but in terms of how exactly you want to get that really formatted, I feel like can be a little difficult. But let me post this Discord setup. So anybody that ends up wanting to play, you have a way to message me directly, obviously, in here. Here's the Discord link, and you can just click the join button. It's right on the side there. It's right next to the analytics one. It's got the different levels. Obviously, the S class one higher in level. You don't have to worry about that. I'm still getting that all set up. But anybody who's got the $2 and up, just a member of the guild, we will be doing a Terraria stream next Saturday. So anybody that ends up joining, I'm going to be looking for ways to, obviously, I've got to get them in communication. I got to get them put up on Steam. And we're going to be playing that 1 week from today. So anybody that wants to. If not, then I'll be playing by myself as I go about it. And I don't know how many people have played before, but you'll see. It's a really fun game. I actually really like Terraria. I'm a big fan. I wonder if they're ever going to make a Terraria 2. I've never fully finished. Like, the only thing I didn't do is, in the whole game, I didn't defeat the Moon God boss, or whatever it's called. Just because, like, I got to a point where I could play up, like, fight him, but I was the only person. So it's like I needed more people, and I didn't have more people. So we'll see. I think it'll be really fun to do. But anyway, speaking about just, like, the chapters, tomorrow, I don't think there's really anything that I'm not excited about. Like, One Piece is already, like, I already know what happens with One Piece, My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen. Those chapters are already fine. And I take those into account, too. Like, even looking at early spoilers, I still look at it as, like, obviously what content they're bringing in the officials. But it's, to me, it's like the lack of new series really hurt my belief in Shonen Jump over the next chunk of time. Just because what's it really going to do when it runs out of, like, a lot of new series that have any traction, and it's just pretty much just rating One Piece? Because My Hero's about to end, Jujutsu Kaisen's about to end. A lot of the newer series that, like, have some traction, I don't think really many people even really talk about them too much. Like Sakamoto Days, Elusive Samurai. I've only seen so many people really kind of go over these in any form of discussion. So I just don't really see what longevity it's gonna have in the next couple of years, you know. And that's more of like what I have as a problem, because Shonen Jump has been really thick for really since I started reading it weekly, and it's only started to really, I don't want to say fall down, but I mean it doesn't look good right now. Because even, like, taking into account the series that I enjoy, but I'm not huge on, like Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero, those are both closely tied to an end. So what are they gonna do after that point? What are they gonna do once these series actually really get to a dwindle spot and they're unable to kind of, like, keep up their whole fandom? I think they're doing some smart things in terms of the large scale. Like, my guess is with Bleach is they're going to be doing stuff like more Burn the Witch content and then more stuff with the Hell Arc through the anime. And I think that's a really smart way to extend out longevity value of their series, is doing stuff like this, to where I think they've learned that anime value will provide more than manga value. Once the manga is set, I think that they're pretty much good as long as the anime keeps improving and adding extra content. Like, I think Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen have both really proven that. It just depends on what they do. Because nobody cares about additional content as long as the additional content is good. Whenever they add, like, anime original stuff, nobody really gets mad as long as the stuff is content that is valuable to have in the series. Like, oh, cool, this interaction that got off-screen in the manga. Sweet, we actually get to see it in the anime. Versus, like, stuff that just happens nonsensically and just kind of happens. You know what I mean? I just don't really see where else otherwise. I mean, Shonen Magazine looks really strong right now. I think that it's going to retake its spot. I don't know when and what year the magazine started to really, like, kind of, like, track, because I know that Shonen Jump used to not be in that top spot, ended up taking it. but Shonen magazine I think is set to potentially retake their position. As of right now, at least from what I'm seeing, they have a better roster. I mean, Shonen Jump obviously like they could just pop up with some new banger series, who knows? But right now it's not looking good in my opinion. By energy equalization, wouldn't reverse cursed energy be anti-magic? I don't think so. I think it'd be closer to negative mana. Because anti-magic, I mean, it's hard to really say. Like, anti-magic, like, in terms of what anti-magic really is. Because anti-magic in Black Clover doesn't even have a full defined existence. Like, is it cursed energy? Is it negative mana? Why is it its own thing that has apparently, like, it's an outside energy source when Libe didn't have magic to begin with? Where did it come from? How did it really occur from a standpoint that makes sense to the verse, you know? I think it makes more sense just to be something like negative mana, even if it's something a little bit rough around the edges to kind of compare. Because we do know that anti-magic is a different setup from normal magic, whereas cursed energy and the reversed cursed energy are still the same thing. Like, you're just applying that same thing in a different method. Like I said, it's just pretty much the idea of like negative mana and mana. But as it were, so who? Let me ask you this, because I know there's some people too that have been seeing around some of the events in recent like manga. What exactly for you guys? Like, is there anything that you guys have been reading to kind of keep you going along? Like, I'm almost caught up with Orient. I got caught up with Gachi Akuda. I'm trying to look at some of these other series that exist because I want to read those as well. Just I need content. Like, I need something to really keep my manga vibes running. I'm not a fan of when there's nothing really to read and there's nothing really you know, to digest. It's boring when you have nothing to kind of go off of. And some of the stuff that I also enjoy is like they're slow content release, like Record of Ragnarok, but I like letting that stack up. So hopefully we'll get something from some of these new gen. Like, the only series I think right now for Shonen Jump that I've had some interest in when it comes to like anything under like a year has been that hasn't been axed yet is what Icehead Gill. And I mean, that series, I don't know if it's gonna survive. It has some interesting aspects. The lore, the art style is improving. The enemies and whatnot are pretty intriguing. It's just gonna obviously depend on the series. Like, we don't know if it's gonna survive. It's gonna have to over the next couple weeks, like couple chapter rankings, take up a couple spots. But on top of that, it's gonna need the first volume to sell well. I don't know if I don't think the first volume is out. I think it's only on volume or chapter 8 or 9 in the officials. So we probably won't get a. I don't even think we have the volume 1 cover released, so we probably won't even see it and like get on sales for probably another 3 weeks to a month, I would guess. That's my belief. Atlas Bear says redacted. I can actually probably get it on the screen later. Well, I mean, like, everybody already knows what Terraria is. I'll put it up there because what I'll do, realistically, I know there's some people that are a little skeptical about it. I'm gonna get at least two. I want to say at least 2 or 3 people set up to come play, because I'm willing to bet 2 people come and see how fun it is. Other people are gonna start jumping on. Terraria is a fun game, but it's one of those games where the fun is amplified by who you're playing with and how many people you're playing with. I think it'd be awesome to build like a community building and we just have like a fortress that we set up in. Like, more so obviously with Minecraft because you get like the 3D aspect of it, but I think it'd be really fun just to do the thing with Terraria as well. Terraria has more little fun gadgets and like little niche things in the game without having to use mods though. So I think that would be pretty fun. I know Atlas Bear is saying strange things though in the chat. I wonder what the plan if they ever do something like a Pokemon MMO. I just don't really feel like that there's anything majorly additional that they can add. I mean, obviously from where they're at, probably technologically. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things you would have to know like what sounds too difficult for them to do. Obviously, you would need to make it open world. You would need to include like a lot. Like it's hard too because like are you gonna start with Gen 1? That's gonna make it super slow. I feel like you would have to start really strong with something like that, like a really ambitious project. You would have to do something to like add original Pokemon and do things that just completely throw up value to the game. Mana Domination should be used by Lucifar or Lucius. I mean, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I mean, didn't Lucifar ends up looking like a bum for it? Popular fan been one entitled Poke MMO. What's going on, Damon? How are you doing today? Gen 3 was the peak. I really like Gen 3. Gen 2 is probably the one that just visually I get the most excited for. Gen 5, though, Gen 5 holds a very special place in my heart. I really like a lot of Gen 5 Pokemon. I think a lot of them are just cool. I'm trying to think of anything like that that would be fun. Do like a Pokemon challenge. Like I want to do community stuff, but like I have to get like the first one set up. That's why I feel like something like Terraria would be a good way to start it. Like I feel like that would be a lot of fun. I haven't played like a serious Terraria game in so long too. I'll see. I'll see who already has Terraria and then who would want to play. Might be able to nab like one other person. Gen 5 is the most popular nowadays. Well, I really like Gen 5s. I'm not talking about my new job. I really like Gen 5 because it has a lot of quality bugs. Because that was when like Volcarona and Scolipede got introduced, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. And those are two of my favorites. Big fan of both of those. I'm not gonna go too much into personal stuff. Hopefully soon though it'll be much more smoothly set, and then I'll have a better way of where we're at, because I'm trying to keep it as smooth as possible currently. The only thing right now is obviously I need to look at scheduling. And it's not like I won't have time. It's just obviously placing the streams at the best times that fit it. Because I'll have the time for streams. It's just like I said, it's gonna depend on what times throughout the day I need to like just put aside an hour or whatever just for it. Just me, but I wish Mishima would do more world building outside of Fiora. I mean, we're doing it right now. That's something he's been talking about in 100 Years Quest, is like doing more general world building and opening up the world scope. That's something that we've been doing since 100 Years Quest started. There's always been a degree, obviously, but Nishima's never been as much of a let's go to this area and then talk about the geographical history for the next like volume. It's never been too much of his thing. We see aspects of it, but I just don't think that's what he wants to do. He's more of obviously building the adventure. Like, a lot of people have their own skills. It just depends. See, that'd be like an end series thing. If Asta could just anti-magic the whole country, I just don't really see what Lucius has as a counter for that. Like, I've never been a huge fan of anti-magic. Like, I like it. I'm just not a huge fan of it being a fix for everything. Well, I personally think that anti-magic should have been defined way earlier in the series. And then, because if Tabata had just like a set definition of how anti-magic worked, we could have a lot more ways that characters could have, ways to get around Asta. And I think that's something that Black Clover needs. We can't really have it now, but I think it would be a better tension builder if there were direct ways that characters could get around Asta's anti-magic more so. And that way it's something that like Asta can't just auto-fix in all scenarios. What's up, Andre? How are you doing today? We're just talking about doing a community Terraria stream next Saturday. It'll be anybody from the $2 membership and up is going to be invited to join. So if you want to join that, like I said, the membership's right there. I guess it's only $2 a month for support. We're going to be playing for a couple hours. Like, this will be a decently length stream once we get to it. I'm hoping to get at least 2 to 3 people that have the time for it, that want to come play. If you've never played before, I would definitely recommend the game, but also it's just a fun game in general. I think it'll be a good time. I've always really enjoyed just playing like some chill times like that. We'll probably play a little. What actually we'll probably do is we'll probably play a little bit off stream just to kind of get the boring bits out of the way, and then pop in once we have like an actual house and we have things going. See, the thing is like that. It's like tension in Black Clover. Tabata builds up too many things to get them out of scenarios, because like, you obviously don't want to overuse a safe card too many times. Like Mimosa having ultimate healing magic, it's like, okay, well, she's got a super heal, but we need to have a limit set on it and understanding of, okay, well, now she's used it, she can't use it for X amount of time. So it's like, okay, well, now, even though this character was saved, we know that in the next scenario it's going to be rougher for them to do anything. So, like, Tabata, I think, needed just to have less of these things. Like, less of these things that just keep people from getting killed. Because I'm still part of the idea that you don't have to kill people, like, important named characters, in order for an arc to have tension. I think there should be times where you obviously, like, get that dark guillotine out. But more so, I think it's more, it's about knowing that consequences are there and that danger is going to happen if something, some qualifications and missions aren't met. So having like 5 to 6 different things all scattered about like having these saves, I just don't think is a good idea. Especially when you already have this auto counter thing going on with anti-magic all the time. Is my voice gone quiet? Let me see. Let me turn it up a little bit. Let me see in the stream whether or not it's same thing. You might hear my voice echo for a moment, but let me see. Oh, I gotta turn my headphones on. One sec. Let me see how I sound. I mean, it sounds all right, I believe. I don't know. Well, there's so much world-ending stuff taking place in Fury. Well, the thing is, that's not even remotely true. Because when you look at something like the Dragon Cry, that was in Stella. When Acnologia was doing his thing, that was just over the world in general. It was only that there were primary events located in Fiore just because that's where the Fairy Tail Guild was. I don't imagine that everything is going as many crazy things all at the same time. We do know that there are weird scenarios like that just happening for other characters. If you've read any of the spin-offs, just because the Fairy Tail main cast isn't somewhere doesn't mean there's not some villain plot using a weapon of some kind from a lost civilization or something like that. It just sounds good now. It just depends on the scale, obviously. But I mean, like, the scale of threat is going to be met with people that are at level to deal with that threat. So obviously, like, things that aren't going to feel as crazy because we've dealt with bigger things. Even like if you've read Twin Dragons and Sabretooth, it's one of the enemy groups. They have this, essentially it's like a gunner flying ship that has a cannon that can destroy entire towns. So it's like going after the Grand Magic Games. That doesn't sound as powerful and crazy high end, but it's still a danger and a threat. So, it's something that's going on that these guys are able to obtain, and now they are a force to be reckoned with, so they need to be taken down. And Sabretooth is the one that's all tied up to it at the time. When is the last time anybody here actually played Terraria? I would like to know. I haven't played like a through Minecraft game in a long time, so I know that's something I need to get to. I think it'll be fun. We'll do the first one. I mean, other games obviously will be up for suggestion, but that's going to depend on when I get to that point with the group. I'll post it on the community tab. Let me actually put that up right now, because I know there's going to be at least I have no idea, like, who picked, who goes between the two. I wish there was a way to check the community tab activity. So it's like, this person is in the streams and they like regularly view and comment on the community tab. So I would know who is like a more active person. Whereas like I don't know who just kind of pops into the community tab. So it's like, I got my mic away from me. What's today? So the 9th on okay. Let me post this up real fast before I forget, because I will forget if I don't. sec. A community. Alright, let me post this in the Discord. Or not the Discord, let me get the link from the Discord to post in the community tab. There we go. Swell. Swell. But anyway, are there any general things going on that you guys have been interested with? Like I said, I know that things have been like really quiet, to be perfectly honest. I know, like I said, there hasn't been that many like hype up and coming things. I'm really hoping that some of these newer series that come up are looking good for Shonen Jump. There was one I mentioned it before, Tate Roll or Tate Roll. I liked the art style and the images I saw from the one shot. It's like this girl, I think she's got hair manipulation and she used it in some like cool spiral weapon. It looked neat. So I'm hoping that if that's the case, assuming the same thing for the serialization, that will continue to be good. It looked good. So I would like to, keep my fingers crossed on the matter. I'm really hoping that we can get another like solid setup in Shonen Jump. I think that the magazine really just needs like two more real head nodding series that just add to the weekly release. Like it sucks because Black Clover's not in there anymore. Freaking Mashal ended. I'm trying to think of what else I was just generally reading weekly for it. Like there's like a low point right now with both Undead Unluck and Mission Yozakura for me that I just want to let them stack up. So like right now I just don't want, like there's nothing I really want to read because everything else gets leaked and spoilered all over the place on the internet. So it's like I either have to avoid all internet activity until the chapters come out from like half the week, or just read the manga chapters when they get released. I don't know. We'll see. It was only a quiet weekend. What it is. This is a very unhushed stream, so we might end it a little early. It's just gonna depend. I'll see about the community game day. It's gonna really depend, obviously, if who shows up. We could have a couple people. We could have surprisingly amounts. So we could have just anybody show up. I'm hoping we get at least like 2 or 3 people. So I think it'd be really fun. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to at least seeing how it turns out initially. If not, we'll plan something else. But I'll do another stream tomorrow. I know this was kind of not really planned. Luckily, I would assume going to be some pretty fan-induced chapters on Tuesday. I mean, we're going to be having a Brandish-aimed bit of content. And Brandish, for some reason, well, I know why Brandish is popular. It has more to do just with her lack of want to deal with stuff personality. Once she gets like actually into the story regularly, I think fans are going to just have a new breath. More so once we get some damn information on the freaking anime. Like, we still have nothing. We have nothing going on that's like giving us anything. Like no idea of release, no nothing. I'm just hoping that once we get to it, we actually get to something that, like, I don't want to have everything just kind of thrown in. It's like, I don't need to get a 5-minute trailer, but I'm just hoping we at least find out like who's animating it. We get some form of just a display of like 30 seconds of scenes. I just want to know how it's going to look, just because it looks like it's weird that it's been so quiet. I don't know. But anyway, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Obviously, this was a short one. Not really too much planned for it. It's been a quiet week. I'm hoping, like, one of the reasons I'm hoping to add some games and stuff is, like, I'm got my fingers crossed we'll be able to add a little bit of just kind of general stuff going on in between, slow bits and manga. Because, like, the last chapter, it was cool, but, I mean, it wasn't, a big set of information going on. It was more fun, a little bit of more, like, exposition. Unfortunately, not exposition of the frickin' fight that I wanted. But, as it were, it's still content that we were given to kind of move things going. Once we get to like more Brandish and Grace portions, we'll get through just like the general parts, and we'll start working towards like Joel and the God Serena's fight. Like I said, Grand Brandish, Brando Lucy, Brand Lucy. I don't know, whatever the people are gonna start referring to her as. But as of right now, it is what it is. Like, we're just kind of gonna be in this quiet little period as manga moves along. Because with Shonen Jump, it's not like some of these ideas, they were unsalvageable. I think a lot of the stuff they were putting out, they just had to give time to exist. And it's not like they don't have the money to support, like, people just, like, paying them for like, a digital job. I don't know. Because you just pay, you do it set up to, like, oh, yeah, there's digital, and then there's, like, how much should they get for, like, views and ads, like, brought to the website and stuff. And just go off that. And then, like, if it gets big enough, you put it in the main magazine. And then I would hope that's like an automatic boost to its physical release volume sales. And then just kind of go from there. We'll see. So I think if they use the main magazine as also kind of like a status thing, to where it's like, okay, well, most of them are digital release weekly. But anything moved up to Shonen Jump, it's something that it's a big deal. So people will want to check out the series just based off that. Like, they could be doing some smart moves with that. I mean, like, they've got their own shit going on. It's obviously like they've larger scale business guys looking at larger scale events. But I mean, I just feel like that they should know, like, it doesn't look good right now. They have larger content ideas, obviously, like playing out like Bleach. They're probably going to be playing out more for the One Piece anime. They're trying to get more everything out they can, really, for Boruto, Naruto. But there's only so much of that they can really do. And those are all series that have a longevity of where they can just kind of add more content. But I don't think they could do that the same with some of these other newer series. Like, My Hero is one of them. Black Clover can if they do it intelligently enough, but that's going to depend. Anyway, other than that, guys, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'll try and get, like, a more planned out stream, and I'm going to try and get some people to come on as guests. But, like, today was just kind of, like, one that I needed to do just because, unfortunately, I was not... Like, I didn't stream yesterday, and I needed just to kind of get out something to kind of chat with you guys and get something. Like, I wanted to get this idea for a community day game as well, just because on the slower ones, I'd like for something just to kind of do that's also just like a fun group activity. Because one thing too, I want some lore events. Like, we got to get this for the channel. Like, I need to have something like that. Just once. Like, it'll be like, oh yeah, there was one community game day, it went horrible, so we don't do it anymore. Like, even if it's that, it's just like there's an event to the lore. Not like, yeah, I go on like regular hiatuses for like weird measured times. Not really, I guess, until this one, but I mean, I'm trying to break that right now. But hopefully soon too, because like I'm about to be fully caught up with a lot of stuff, so I just need to worry about getting the channel back into consistency. And I want to start doing talks essentially on aspects of the series. So instead of like for some of the videos where we can talk about just like, okay, let's talk about the dragon slaying from an attributes view, not from the characters, and talk about like what we've seen and what attributes we now know are in the canon. Because like, even have stuff that we've never seen a dragon for at all, like a Diamond Dragon, you could kind of say sort of with Mother Glare, because she said her scales were adamantine. I don't really know about the anime that like I like Mother Glare. I feel like should be female. Like, her name has Mother in her name, and shoots out eggs from like all these orifices like from the underside. Like, why does it have a dude's voice in the anime? Just out of curiosity, I don't know. Anyway, other than that, I'll talk to you guys later.